Hey everyone, welcome to Queerly Recommended. I am Tara Scott, and with me as always is Kris Bryant.
Hello, welcome to episode 5, and we are glad to be back.
Okay, before anything else, Kris, I feel like I need to check in. I saw the news about Wynonna Earp being canceled. Are you okay? Do we need to send snacks? Do you need a cuddle? What do you need?
You know, I need all of that. I'm not okay. I mean, just when we have like super positive queer representation in a really cool series, it gets canceled. And here's the thing, like it got canceled before, and then the fans did so much getting together and getting the 5th season out there. And I feel like it got canceled and it's canceled for good. Like during the last time, it felt like there was a chance, you know, okay, we could go here, we could go there, you know, try a different platform, try, you know, Hulu, try Netflix, try something. And they got a 5th season. And so I feel like everybody's kind of tapped. And I feel like this is truly the end of the series, which makes me sad because, you know, I wonder about it's like a breakup. I wonder about how everybody is taking it. I know that there are going to be conventions, but is everybody going to, all the actors and actresses, are they going to be able to go to the conferences for the fans? You know, how long is this going to go on? It's just, I'm just sad. I'm sad by the whole thing.
Did they at least get to wrap up the story properly?
We still have, starting in March, there are the 6 final episodes. So I'm hoping that Emily was able to go and tweak it maybe and give us a final episode. Or maybe we'll get like a secret 2-hour movie in the future. Maybe, you know, on set. I don't know. I hope so.
That happened with, I mean, not queer at all, but that happened with the sci-fi series Farscape. Did you ever see that?
I did not.
Oh my God. I loved it. And I'm actually afraid to watch it again because I just have a feeling so much of it is not going to hold up. But it was so well loved that I hope I'm getting this right. I hope I'm remembering this right, but I'm pretty sure that there was like a mini series or movie or something like that finished it up. But I'm pretty sure it was like wealthy fans that financed it because they just needed to know how the story ended.
Right.
So, I mean, if there's any rich Wynonna Earp fans out there.
Somebody said something about Dolly Parton, and I thought, oh my God, that's perfect. Have Dolly Parton save Wynonna Earp. It is perfect.
Right? I mean, she has helped millions of children with literacy. She was a part of funding one of the most successful COVID vaccines. Why couldn't she do this
Save a little awesome show? I know
it is, and it reminds me. It's just like with how sad it is. It kind of reminds me of the same thing happening to One Day at a Time as well, because that was also so well loved. Had some. It also had some great queer rep with the daughter and getting to like actually see a teenager come out like that, but in a really positive way on the screen. And it was also brought back because of fan demand, and unfortunately, it's just gone. Like, it's not okay.
It's not okay. No. I don't like this. I think, you know, maybe it's me. I mean, the last couple things I've recommended, they were either canceled or got canceled. So I feel not really responsible, but
I don't think you have that much power. Your own little self. Every show must end someday. I mean, we even see that with like soap operas eventually end even when they've been on for decades.
I was going to say some soap operas are older than I am. So, I mean, it goes to show you that there are shows that like The Simpsons, they've been on forever.
Right.
True. You know, and I know that like 5 seasons is a good run. Somebody mentioned on Twitter that 5 seasons of any show is a good run. And that's true. It's just, you know, everybody just loves this small, you know, group family, and we want to see it succeed and continue with success. I'm sure all the actors are going to go and get great roles, you know, in the future on different shows and different movies. And I don't think that anything is going to happen. It's just like we're breaking up a family, basically.
Yeah, and I also think it's totally fair to grieve that, because as much as we know it's all fake, like our brains, like with the way our brains work, don't know that it's fake, and it believes that we're building these connections. And so we have to kind of, in some cases, go through the same grief
Well, and
process.
especially when you go to conferences and you meet the actors and, you talk to them and they stop and talk to you. And it's just, it's just such a good feeling. And you want everybody to be happy and be successful and succeed. And it's just sad when something you love so much just ends.
Well, I think in conclusion, fuck capitalism.
Exactly. I think you're right. Okay, so guess what?
What?
We got our first listener question.
Hell yeah, we did.
Woo!
So Melissa wrote in and she had a question for us. She sent it by Instagram DM. So I guess if you want to send us appropriate DMs, that's okay. This was
or inappropriate. Don't be such a prude.
Oh, I don't want to see naked strangers.
At least tell us your name.
So you know what? Send those DMs to Twitter and Kris will check them. So Melissa wrote in and she asked, Tara, in one of your reviews of Spindrift by Anna Burke, you mentioned the Butch bottom femtop dynamic, which was the whole reason I read it and loved it. Thanks. Do you have any other recs for books or other media with this dynamic? Or, as Anna Burke put it, for queer femme women who aren't afraid to take control of their own pleasure and the butch bottoms / service tops who love them? You mentioned that you knew of at least one other in your review, but not by name. Also, I read and absolutely loved Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lowe and would love to hear your collective thoughts. So let's first deal with the last part. I have not read Last Night at the Telegraph Club yet. I've been hearing amazing things. It's on my Kindle. I'm super excited and I'm hoping to start it in the next week or two. So I can definitely come back with some thoughts. Kris, have you read this one or have you heard of it?
I have not. And as far as any other books that have that dynamic, I know that Renee Roman has at least one. She has Stroke of Fate. And then I think she's working on one as well. I can't recall the name of it. And I want to say maybe Nell Stark.
I think you might be right. It's been a super long time since I've read it. So, Melissa, if we're wrong, I apologize. I think The Princess Affair might have a bit of that dynamic because it has a femme British princess and an American student who is a butch woman who is shy and adorable. And the princess is not shy. She's a bit of a wild child. And I believe that dynamic carries through into the bedroom as well, at least for some of it. There is also a follow-up short story. I can't even remember in what short story collection. But anyway, if you've ever wanted to read a sex scene in the Oxford University, one of their libraries, you need to go find that story because that is where that is. In terms of other ones, I'm pretty sure Brenda Murphy has some. And the reason I say that, there's one in particular I'm thinking of, which I haven't read, but I've heard really good things about. And she writes mostly stories with kink. She has a couple of contemporary romances, but she has a series that takes place at I'm trying to think of how to even describe it. It's one of those like kink mansions, I guess. Something like that. But anyway, she has a book with 2 butch bottoms. No, wow. Not necessarily both bottoms. Sorry, 2 butches. But there's always some kind of like, from the ones that I've read, there's always some kind of dominant submissive thing going on. So I have to think one of them is likely a bottom. The other one that also sprang to mind for me is Party of 3 by Sandy Lowe. Now, the thing with this book actually that's really interesting is it's 3 novellas, but all is part of the same continuous story. So it's a birthday party, and one night, 3 friends go to this birthday party. 3 of them have sex at this birthday. All 3 of them have sex at this birthday party. And in the middle novella specifically, there is the woman in the friends group that is butch gets together with her best friend's little sister, who she has been in love with basically forever and ever. And it definitely has that dynamic of the femme going after what she wants and the butch kind of being like, what's happening here? So I found that was actually my favorite of the 3 novellas as well. I had fun with all of them, but that was the one that really did it for me. I believed it the most. I also love like the best friend sister dynamic, which is also fabulous. Like Megan O'Brien has one that's
Good
literally
tropes.
called her
Yeah,
best friend
it is a good
sister.
trope. Yeah, my best friend sister.
Although that's a recommendation if you're looking for best friend sister books, not Butch Bottom Femtops, just
right.
for the record. But I was like, that's not very many books. So I reached out to some other friends that I know and also got back kind of like no, there's really not many. But what the ones that they could think of is The Butch and the Beautiful by Chris Ripper. Somebody shared that they think that Radcliffe's Honors series has some of that energy, which is totally possible, but haven't read it in about a decade, so I can't verify myself. And the other one was Lise MacTague's On Deception's Edge series. And this is a pro tip. I haven't read this one. I think it's just out, but her new book, Breaking Out, apparently also has some of that dynamic. And it's a hockey romance. So if you like some sports romances too, go check that one out.
There you go. Yeah. So that's quite a few. That's quite a few recommendations.
Melissa, we hope that you love all of them, or at least a couple.
Yeah.
And if anyone else has any questions that you'd be interested in Kris and I answering in a future episode, whether it's, something to do with what we're reading or watching, or if you're looking for recommendations too, just, email it in to podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Or like I said, you can DM us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, and you can find us on all three of those platforms just by searching for Queerly Recommended.
And I get the DMs.
You get the Twitter DMs. I get the Instagram DMs. Please do not send naked DMs to Instagram. Send them all to Twitter for Kris. Thirsty Kris.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, Kris. What have you been watching and reading lately?
Okay, so for reading, I just started Modern English by Rachel Spangler, which is Victoria's book. So I think I read somewhere where 90% of Rachel's readers have asked for a Victoria book, and so they have given us the what we wanted. So I just started that.
I actually, this one's sitting on my Kindle as well, and I am excited about it because I have to admit I was one of the people who also asked for it when I reviewed Full English. I liked Full English, but for me, Victoria was actually the standout character. And so occasionally I do a thing when I write reviews where I'm like, I'm just going to ask. And then if they write that book, that's amazing. And if they don't, it wasn't meant to be.
You can take credit for it and say, look, it's because I said, write this book.
Right? So
successful. And yes.
Everyone, you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome for Modern English. I'm kidding. Thank you, Rachel. I'm so excited to read it.
Yes, I actually have enjoyed. I started it, so I like the way this starts. And Rachel's such a good writer,
and has been I have so enjoyed seeing the progression from book to book, and I mean that's an exciting thing for me. Like finding authors that I love and seeing them grow over time, so they're just getting better and better. And Rachel Spangler is definitely in that category for me, where the books just and I enjoy some of their earlier books for sure. Like there's some that I still love, but just like the sheer mastery of the craft over time. So I think that's part of what has me so excited by this one as well. Like Lady Victoria by an author who's getting better with each book.
Exactly. And I agree. I have read early stuff by Rachel, and for sure there is now a finesse to their writing, and I can definitely tell. And I don't know if it's just a calming thing. I can tell that there's just more of a calmness about them, and so it comes across through the writing when I read it. So anyway, I'm going to have a shit ton of fun reading this, so I'm excited. So that's what I'm reading. Excellent.
What are you watching?
So here's the thing. So I'm watching. This is so hard because we're so used to binge watching everything all the time. Boom, 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 boom. So what I have been watching on TV, I've been watching 911, but not just 911, but also 911 Lone Star. Two different shows. but they did a crossover last week, which was kind of fun. So let me tell you why. So 911 has Angela Bassett, and I have this massive crush on Angela Bassett.
Who doesn't?
Forever and always. And so this is interesting. So because 911 has queer representation, Angela Bassett's ex-husband is gay and divorces her and gets together with his lover. And then there's also a lesbian character, and these are pretty big roles. They're not just like, oh, the lesbian, paramedic or whatever. It's not that they have like solid roles in this series. And so yeah, I was like, cool. And then they created after I think the quote unquote success of 911, they have a Texas version, 911 Lone Star.
Mm-hmm.
And truly, if you want diversity, this show is for you. If you can get past Rob Lowe, which is tough, I know, but the series isn't bad. There's a transgendered firefighter, a gay firefighter, a Muslim woman firefighter. I can't even firefighter. Yeah. And then there's a huge, big country, big good old boy Texas hat, and he's married to a really sweet and adorable Black woman. Mm-hmm. So there's so much diversity in that series, and you're like, how are we ever going to get to the part where we fight fires? But they do. There's just a lot going on. It's like a soap opera. I mean, like anything else, you get to know the characters, and they have struggles, and like any other show anymore that is on TV. Mm-hmm. So I watch those during the week, and yeah. So what about you? How is your Hades run going?
Well, I finished it. It's over. Except they're so smart. The way they made this game is never really over. So I beat Hades 10 times, and I got the epilogue, and it was so beautiful. Honestly, the writing, I think, is the thing that blows me away so much in this game. The other thing is that it's part of a genre of games. I'm going to get this. If I get this wrong, please forgive me. There's going to be some gamer that's like, fuck you. That's not what it's called. But I think it's called roguelike. And then within that, there's also something called roguelite. But basically the idea is like you go through and when you die, and you lose all your shit and you have to start over again. But the way they do it in this game, it makes it okay because there are certain things that you can pick up to make you stronger each time. And how that ties in with the overall storytelling is so brilliant. And I haven't gotten sorry, I'm stumbling because I'm so excited. It's like, what if I say 4 things at once? And you can't actually do that. That's not possible. You just end up going like I just did. Right? Very good. Very good, Tara. People will love to hear this. But you get to keep playing. So there is something written into the story itself so that it makes sense that you keep going through all of the dungeons and beating Hades at the end. And so there are things that I'm still trying to do, including pursue the love interests. And the thing that I think is interesting is that you can pursue all 3 if you like. So there's Dusa, which is a Medusa. There's Megara, who is one of the 3 Furies. And there's Thanatos, who can be your gay boyfriend. And it's kind of hinted at that you've been involved with Thanatos and Megara in the past. And so that's kind of what I'm doing next. And yes, Zagreus is going to be a boyfriend to everybody because why not? But now I'm just looking to see like what other queer games I can find. And I found one that I absolutely adore, and that's all I'm going to say about it because I want to leave everybody hanging in anticipation because it's going to be my big recommendation next episode.
Okay.
So,
and that's for your Switch, right? It's for the Nintendo Switch. It's probably on all of them. Maybe.
No, it's probably on Steam, but it's not. I don't think it's on PlayStation or Xbox. So it's a very queer inclusive dating sim that I'm super excited about. So if that's your jam, come on back in 2 weeks and you'll hear me gush about that game because I love it so much. But what I wanted to do was say, again, if anyone actually has any queer gaming recommendations, especially for the Nintendo Switch, please send them my way. If it's a Steam exclusive, unfortunately, I'm just not going to play it. I could play something on the Xbox or PlayStation because we do have both of those here, but like Switch is kind of where I'm at these days. So if you have recommendations for me, please send them in to podcast@queerlyrecommended.com because I want to hear them. I will try them out. And if I love them, I will talk about them on a future episode. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, it's not something I'm reading right now, but a book that I absolutely adored last year, one of my favorite books, You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, was recently named a Stonewall Honor Book by the American Library Association. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that book because it's so freaking good. It's a contemporary young adult book. It has a romantic element to it. I don't know if I would call it a romance per se, but the romantic element is definitely strong. But the premise is that Liz Leighty is a Black girl in high school in a small town in Indiana, and she wants to go to this particular college. She doesn't quite have enough money, and she's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So she and her brother are being raised by their grandparents, and she's afraid that if her grandparents find out about the financial shortfall, like, it looks like she's not going to get a scholarship that she's supposed to get or something like that. So she's afraid that if they find out about that, that they're going to sell the house. And that's not something that she wants. You know, that would be, it feels like too big a sacrifice. She's super shy. She's very much about like keeping herself out of sight, away from bullying. And I can't remember if it's her brother or her friend, but basically says, look, you need to run for prom queen because the people that get to be prom king and queen actually get scholarships. Like they get money that they can put towards college, and it would be enough to cover that shortfall. And so it's this like shy girl putting herself out there in a way that she absolutely hates, but she's doing it kind of for all the right reasons. And what happens, and the girl that she falls in love with along the way. And that, it's told in the first person from Liz's perspective. Yeah. She's so smart and funny and lovely, and I just adored her. This book made me cry in a couple of times. Like, I just want it to be made into a movie. Like, I want Netflix to make it into a movie specifically because I feel like they've been doing the best job of making queer movies lately that you can feel good about, like that actually have a happy ending and not, you know, you're gonna go want to kill yourself when it's done because it's so sad.
I know.
But I just like, I'm so excited that it got this award because I just think this book deserves all the things. And if you haven't read it yet, I absolutely like, just go check it out. It's super, super good.
Okay, good. So what is your big recommendation for us this week?
All right. So this week, I'm going to recommend a super fun lesbian romance that I just finished a couple of days ago, and it is Hotel Queens by Lee Winter. Have you heard of this one?
Of course.
Right? Everybody's been talking about it.
I know, yeah.
So I'm going to start with the blurb, which says, over one long night at a bar in Las Vegas, two powerful hotel executives meet, flirt, and challenge each other, having no clue they're rivals after the same dream deal. Brilliant ice queen Amelia Duxton is a hotel vice president who thrives on control, truth, and efficiency. She's in no mood for love or the mess it brings. All she wants is to buy the coveted Mayfair Palace, a massive deal that could help her land the CEO job in her family's hotel empire. Fiery Kai Fisher is charming and chaotic and renowned for closing ambitious deals. Her sights are set on snatching the Mayfair Palace out from under the nose of her hated arch rivals, the Duxton family. But when secrets emerge and everything starts to fall apart, how can either of the warring women win, especially when they've just met their match? This book is a lot of fun. I had a great time reading it. Although, full disclosure, I actually read the first probably quarter and then put it down because I had my end of year burnout as usual in December. And so I decided to just start it over again about a week ago. And I'm so glad I did because I picked it up again and then I didn't want to put it down. I had to because, you know, sleep and family and work and all those things. But I definitely stayed up way too late a few days ago because especially when I got to kind of like the middle, because there is a mystery that kind of sits at the center of it. And you don't even know it at first, because at first it just comes across as like, oh, okay, so it's like an enemies to lovers lesbian romance. Cool. Okay, I've read these. I know what to expect from these. And then I was like, oh shit, there's something else happening and they're going to have to figure it out. And that just like, I was hooked from every word from that moment on. But even then, I was also really caught by the first chapter.
Yes.
Because the first chapter is split, like the book goes back and forth between their two perspectives. And that's true of the first chapter as well, where we have like a scene or two from each of them that really lays out exactly who they are as they go into meeting each other and falling in love. And so for Kai, she's going into work. It's very, very early in the morning. She has her coffee. She's about to hit the gym. And as I think she's talking to the man who works at the door. And there's this asshole bike messenger who's been like terrorizing the neighborhood. And he clips her so that she scratches her very expensive watch. And she whips her coffee at his back. So that she knocks him off his bike. And I was like, well, that's not something you read about every day in Las Vegas. Oh, okay. And then what she continues to do to him in that scene, I was like, oh, that's
I like it when a book starts off strong. Like there's it literally drops you right into a moment that does pick up the character's personality right away. And this does it right away. So you know exactly, okay, this is what's going to happen.
And then it does the same thing for Amelia, where you see Amelia firing somebody who I think he runs procurement for so she runs the European division of Duxton Hotels. And I believe he runs procurement for the European division. And she figured out that this guy had been fudging the numbers and basically embezzled like a couple €100,000 or something like that. Like, a lot of money. And you're sort of going through and it's like, okay, he's being fired. Oh, he's going to be arrested. And then you find out that he is her cousin. And I loved it so much because it really showed how not just no nonsense she is, but also how much integrity matters to her, how that is such a core part, like a fundamental part of who she is as a person. And where other people might say, well, he's in the family, let's keep it quiet. And she's like, no, that messes with my integrity. That's my reputation that gets compromised if anybody finds out about this. Fuck you. You're the embezzler. You're the one with the gambling problem. And I kind of like, I love that. And the thing with this is that, yes, it is an enemies to lovers, but it is also what I would say almost like the ultimate in opposites attract, because they are just so different. And where Amelia will never compromise who she is, she will always show up exactly as herself, as her most authentic self, even though she knows so many people don't like it. Kai talks about how she creates optimal experiences for other people. That's why she's so good at her job. So she works for this other hotel chain called the Grand Millennium. And she is known in the industry as the closer. She closes any deal she wants. She is able to go in and she is able to, snatch hotels from she is able to win bidding wars. And she does this by figuring out what the other person wants in an interaction and delivering it to them. So she's kind of that ultimate chameleon. And I think the thing that I especially loved about that and seeing them as they get together, because they definitely have chemistry, like their chemistry is just unreal in this story, but seeing how those two personalities come together and what they're able to do for each other and how that changes. I don't know that it's necessarily going to change the way they operate with other people, but it definitely changes the way they operate with each other. And in some ways, like Kai gives Amelia the ability to be stronger than she knows that she can. And Kai learns how to be, she learns that when she's with Amelia, she can't be anything other than authentic. That's actually the only way. And it worked for me so well. And there was also some things that just like cracked me up, made me laugh so hard. I'm going to find this one. It's a tiny quote, but this was the one that I actually like. It's past midnight. I'm in bed reading this and I'm laughing out loud. So there's a side character in the story who is a sex worker, and she basically constantly, she just always has a room at the hotel. I think she might just live at the hotel, and she delivers sort of the like executive woman dom experience for people who want that. And so she runs into them near the end and sort of hits on Amelia a little bit, which she's sort of done throughout the story. And Kai says, "Am I jealous of the MILF sex goddess with eyes that roam all over you as if she appreciates the promised land as much as I do?" And this was the part that got me. Amelia wondered what a MILF was. Like, of course Amelia wondered what a MILF was. How would she know? She wouldn't know. That would be beneath her. She wouldn't consume media it was in. She doesn't have social media accounts. She is like the best grown up ever. And so I just read that and I was like, okay. Well, you're going to learn. You're going to find out. So yes, that is my recommendation for this week. So if for people that like romances, especially if you like opposites attract romances, enemies to lovers romances, romances with a little bit of mystery to them. I mean, I wouldn't say that this is a mystery. It's just like there is a central problem that has to be figured out. And that the other thing I like is that that is what drives a lot of the conflict. And so it's not, this isn't going to be one of those books where there's like a big old breakup and then a massive makeup with a grovel and a, I don't know, maybe buying a dog or something. Right. And that worked very well for me. I really, really like that. So if that's your like, if that's something that you like as well, go and get it because it's worth it.
Right.
So Kris, what is your recommendation this week?
Okay, so this week I have 2 recommendations and both are movies. One is a documentary, and because it was so goddamn sad, I had to quickly watch another movie right after that. So the first thing I watched was a documentary back in 2014, and it's called L Word in Mississippi, Hate the Sin. And it's director Laura Lazin. But the cool thing is the executive producer on this is Eileen Shaken. And we know her because she did all the L Word series, the original, the real L Word, and then the L Word Q, Generation Q. And she also is executive producer of Handmaid's Tale. So she has a lot of, I knew it was going to be good because, you know, she's a well-known name. And so I actually picked this documentary also because my ex-girlfriend was from Mississippi. And I actually visited, I traveled down to Mississippi with her to visit her family one time, and I was scared shitless. And yeah. So even though her family didn't kill me, I knew that my body could easily be like discarded in their woods because they lived in this tiny little small town in the middle of nowhere with like, you know, like 2,000 acres of land, you know, that's like protected barbed wire. I could have died.
No one would have missed you.
Right, exactly. Well, my parents would have missed me, but
no one in that town.
Right, that's true. Nobody in the town would. But so anyway, so what this here's the blurb for the documentary. A provocative and moving documentary exploring the lives of gay women through living in the conservative religious Deep South and the unique hardships, bigotry, bullying, sexism, and racism they endure. So it was interesting because it follows several couples, and it also follows a woman, a former, quote unquote, former lesbian named Renee. Yeah. So it starts off, you know, and it's really interesting because, like, especially after going through the elections and the whole Trump and the whole religious take on the election, it probably impacted me more watching it after the elections than had I seen it in 2014. It focuses on how churches play a huge part in the lives and the way of life in the Deep South. And according to several of the pastors they interviewed, you know, homosexuals are deranged, their minds aren't working properly, and others compared being gay to being murderers. They're all a sin. So if you're gay, you're just as bad as murder.
Mhm.
And sin is a sin in their eyes. So, but it was interesting because I wanted to see, why people stayed, why, when it's just so awful and it sounds horrible, like you fear for your life. A lot
Mhm.
of it, and this is small rural cities and Mississippi, not necessarily like Jackson and places like that, but I'm sure, they have their problems too. But
Mhm.
it was really, the whole thing was interesting. You have a couple that, they're one is transitioning and the other doesn't know how to feel about it. And then you just have a biracial couple. And then you have two people who try to start a program and actually do successfully start the Dandelion Project, which is getting the Christian community, the LGBT Christian community together, that it's okay to be gay. And so this Dandelion Project, they encourage like all different cities, people who are interested in making that connection happen to go ahead and start it in your own city. And if you're, in religion that deep and you want to have a place for the LGBT community, then you start the Dandelion Project. So that's a whole different thing.
Mhm.
But what I thought was a really fascinating part to this documentary is that they're part of a lot of these lesbians and gay people are part of a family, like a literal
Mhm.
family, not like your own family, but you have a family that you share a similar, you have a gay name. You have your birth name and you have a gay name, so that you have kind of like protection. And I don't want to really call it a gang, but it's like
Mhm.
you have like, I think the L'Oreals were one, and it's just so interesting, all the different names
Mhm.
that you have. Like if your birth family, like your mom and your dad don't attend anything like your wedding or something, then your gay family will show up and support you. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting because I'm like, where's my gay family here in Kansas City? It seemed like such a very good idea. Like it served as like protection, just in numbers, feeling safe. It wasn't like, let's go, like, you know, kill people and slash tires and burn buildings or anything like that. It was just strictly like, safety in numbers type thing. And it was
Yeah.
really, really interesting. The character, I'm sorry, the person Renee, she was praying the gay away. She just thought it was the devil, and it was just really sad to watch her life. She had all these decisions. For 46 years, she considered herself a lesbian. She always thought, a really butch lesbian. She thought she was a man. Devil gave her all these horrible ideas. And so she joined the church and is trying really hard to pray the gay away. And her son happens to be gay. So,
Mm.
it was just so sad and just kind of ended. And I actually, after it was over, I started Googling, what happened to the cast members of, I say cast members, not really cast.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really know, documentary, what happened to them, where are they now type thing. And there
Mhm.
really wasn't a lot of information online about them. I was curious to see if Renee decided to accept who she is or not. And it was just kind of sad. And I thought, I feel so bad that in this day and age, and even though it was only 2014, it
Mhm.
was still pretty a progressive time, I think. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just sad. I
More
was sad.
progressive than I would say much more progressive than 2016 to 2020, because
Right.
I
Exactly.
mean, that was almost like the time that the Trump administration was pulling everyone back away from.
Hmm.
So, would you say, like, overall, like, was it good? Like, is it something you think people should check
Overall,
out? Like,
yeah, I think so, and that's why I'm recommending it, because I need people to see that, and it's interesting because when I started writing Lesfic, my editor is in her 30s. At the time, she was maybe like late 20s. She's like 12. I always joke that she's 12, and
uh-huh.
she has no concept of hate when it comes to
Mm,
being gay. She lives in California.
mhm.
She's younger, so she doesn't have to worry about fearing for her life, or like, it's okay that she holds her wife's hand in public and stuff like that. There's not, she has this, and it's wonderful that she has this, but at the same time, I think it's important to know that not everybody has that. Not everybody
Mm,
has the ability to feel safe, or and the thing that gets me is just, it's so ridiculous that people use religion. Like, they don't care about you at all, but they'll throw religion at you. Like, oh, we need
mhm.
to save you. You don't even know
Mhm.
my name. What do you mean you want to save me? For what? So it's very interesting because it's important to know that there are still people who struggle, that are scared. They don't want to move, or they want to stay there in smaller communities to rally, to say, hey, you know what, we're here for you. We're going to stay here for you. Because if all the gay people leave a city, then the people who are up and coming and, don't understand or don't know yet, it's going to be super hard for them to come out. And I think this documentary was important for that reason, just to kind of educate that it still goes on. Like, even though it still goes on.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, that sounds not exactly the same. It sounds a little worse than the type of churches that I grew up in, but I would say like adjacent, like kind of that they're like that step up from. So it wasn't necessarily talked about as a mental illness thing, but it definitely, I know in my experience, it was not okay. Like queerness of any kind was absolutely not okay. And I agree with you. Like it's really important. And I kind of wonder if I would have had access to queer community where I grew up, would I have been able to recognize my own queerness sooner?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that's always a bit of a rough game to play, because I don't think I would necessarily want to like, I would still want to be married to the same person I'm married to, and I would never give up my kids for anything. And, I love my family as it is. And so that's the what if game doesn't really do anybody any favors sometimes.
Right.
But it would have been nice, I think, to at least have accepted that part of myself a lot sooner, rather than continue to compartmentalize it, because I can, like, reflecting back, see, oh, that's a thing that's always been there. I just didn't want to look at it for, a significant portion of my life. So yeah, I think that's fantastic that that's there, because you're right. There's so many people that think, well, we have marriage. Yeah. What else? Like we have it all now. And it's like,
not really.
Right? Like, So you said you had a happier movie.
Right. So after that, I said, okay, I got to find something fun. So I needed a light, fluffy, gay movie. And I watched The 10-Year Plan. And so the quick blurb is, meet Miles and Brody, breast. Well, where's my mind? Meet Miles and Brody, best friends and total opposites. Miles is a hopeless romantic looking for Mr. Right. Brody is a sexy player on the hunt for Mr. Right now. These two friends make a plan that they'll be together if both of them are still single in a decade. Nearly 10 years later and still alone, both friends will do whatever it takes to avoid becoming a couple. So it's super cheesy. It's like Hallmark level cheese. And I love cheese. So, Miles is the kind of person who wants the U-Haul after the first date. He like scares dates away after the first date, because he's got an outline of everything. Here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get married. These are our flowers. So he's just like, he's all overwhelming. And Brody is the guy who, does the Tinder dates, and he doesn't want to. He's the cop, and he doesn't want any relationship. And so it's really interesting. It's cute, it's fun, it's very low angst, and like I said, total cheesy, and I needed that. So I recommend it, just for like the Hallmark gay movie that you need, that you didn't think you needed, but you really do.
That's adorable. What platform did you watch it on?
I did it on, I think it was Tubi.
I don't know what that is. I'll just see if it's on something that's available in Canada.
So I have this remote, and I just like hit the button, and I'm like, LGBT movies, and then all of a sudden it gives me all these options. So so it's through my cable, but it'll hook in through different platforms, like whether it's Prime or Netflix or Hulu, it'll just bring me right to it. So I just kind of review what movies I want to see, or what reads the best, and so I'm like, this one, they're both cute, let's watch this. So, and it was filmed well. You could tell that it wasn't like some, second-year film student quality type movie. It was actually, it felt like a true Hallmark movie.
What do you mean? That never happens with queer movies.
I'm going to make a queer movie with my iPhone. Which I think a lot of them are on iPhones.
Yeah, you probably could. And as long as you put Molly in it, I think everybody would show up and watch it. Like, that's fine.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Make her a star.
A star.
Oh. So I think that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show, if you can just please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you've really enjoyed this show, we would love it if you would consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, because, reviews help other people discover shows that they might love.
Yes. And if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, just search for Queerly Recommended on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. That's it.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Hooray! We did it. Another one done.
Hey.